This is Daniel Smith from Jets Guru. Welcome to the show. All gas, no brakes. Let's go, Jets. Woo!
That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
All gas, no brake.
What's going on, Jets Nation? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone here, and you are watching Jets Guru. Now, give it up for your host, Mr. Daniel Smith!
Get it going. Get the music going. Listen. Time. Right? It's time. It's time for the Jets to finally do something. Right? That's what I'm thinking. Man, cut the music. What's going on, guys? We're having fun out here. Jets Guru, we're back again. Another episode. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Hit the share button, please, because Facebook likes to do this thing where, like, once every couple months, they decide to change how you share things, and it always messes up the show when I try to share. So this particular time, I can't actually share to any of the pages that I am on throughout Jets world here, and it won't let me operate as Daniel on my page. And so it's been a real pain in the butt to try to share to you guys, but we're working on it. We're trying to fix it. So if you could share the show, that would be wonderful. It's good to see you guys again. I see everyone's in pretty good spirits in the Jets world compared to the last, I would say, 2 years. Last year was bad around mid-season-ish, but, you know, obviously the Adam Gase era was really when fans were really upset with pretty much everything. And that's when you guys started going on full attack on me, as if I somehow, and me and Kevin and company, assembled the New York Jet roster. Listen, I told you guys the rookie year, I give a pass to all players and coaches. That is just how I operate. I don't know what to tell you. I give people a break. I'm a good guy. You understand? So I like to come out here and do these things for people and give them a chance, right? And I like what I saw. I like what I saw from the whole team. We've discussed it before, all the way from the top down. And honestly, I got to give Woody Johnson and Chris Johnson some credit, because they did something that we've talked about on this show so many times. And that is that they needed to pay for everything and then step away from the situation, because they are businessmen, money guys. They are not football guys. Now, that doesn't mean Chris or Woody doesn't know anything about football. You're around football that long, for that amount of time, around that many professionals that are at the top of their game, you're going to learn a little something. So I'm not disrespecting them at all. But there's a difference, right? That Woody and Chris aren't in the grind scouting these guys, you know, daily, weekly, monthly. They're not watching the film and the tape studies and all that kind of stuff. That's what you pay these guys to do. So if you're going to pay them to do that, let them pick their own staff. Let them do what they have to do. Correct? Right? I think we can all agree there. And that is something that they have decided to start doing. They have started to empower the people that are under them in an organizational tier structure that is correct and sound and that is respectable across the NFL and across many workspaces. If I hire somebody to do a job, I should allow them to do the job, right? I shouldn't put all these roadblocks in their way that don't allow them to do the job at the best of the ability that they can be. And so for them to come out right away, which is what I said on this show before it happened, months, we talked about this for months about what Woody had to do day one when the season was over. And that was empower Joe Douglas to pick the person that he wanted to pick and run the organization. Let that coach pick the staff that he wanted to, and let them pick the players together as a cohesive unit. And they did that, and right away you started to see the changes in how this football team has started to be put together, the sound of what was coming in and out of the building. And even though it didn't equate to many wins last year, it was respectable because they were so young, and you saw the growth from game one to finish. And not just from the rookies. You saw guys step up, like guys like Braxton Berrios that bought himself a new contract and possibly more opportunities with this team and in this league because he was an opportunity for an injury. You saw guys like Elijah Moore step up, Michael Carter step up. You saw Zach Wilson completely cut the turnovers down while his counterpart, number one pick, Lawrence, was throwing interceptions all over the damn field. One of the worst rookie campaigns of all time. That's a fact, okay? That is a fact. Trevor Lawrence had an awful year last year. And you saw the team. Everyone's like, oh, the injuries. The Jets had injuries too, man. The Jets had a ton of injuries. The Jets have had a ton of injuries. So I don't want to hear that other teams were injured and this and that. Zach Wilson was injured. You think he was 100% playing that second half of the year even when he came back off injury? Of course he wasn't. You saw it very well in that Texans game how stiff he was. And it took him about two or 3 weeks to get loose, okay? But the improvements have stacked. We have now given Joe Douglas another offseason with a group of guys that were all assembled together. And once again, what did you see? Good draft trades, good picks at value positions where they're supposed to be, guys that meet the system, guys that fill a role. Another year of that. I have no doubt that at least 2 of these guys are going to be exactly what they're advertised as being. You can't predict it. The draft is 50-50. Maybe Joe hits again and 4 out of 5 or whatever hits or at least contributors. But I know for a fact at least 2 of these guys are going to hit because they now have a formula in place. Joe has now gathered all that information from Philly, from Baltimore, what he's seen with Adam Gase and how things were kind of messed up. And he's all tied it together. And now he has full power to do and execute how he should be without just some kind of overhang of how it's supposed to be. And now he is within his freedom right to pick and trade and move up for Saleh, for his guy that he picked, for his coaching staff that they picked and gathered together. It is going to work, okay? But you're going to have to allow it to work and be very patient. Okay, because let me remind you again, this is only year 2 in the rebuild. It feels a little accelerated because there's been a lot of youth and a lot of fun picks and trades and everything in the last 2 years, but it's only year 2. Okay, so you have to have some patience. But Kevin, PFF comes out. They put out their ranking for the 5 best improved teams in the league. The Jets are one of those football teams. Do you agree that the Jets had an improved offseason to be on this list? And how much has this improvement added to the win total over last year?
Yeah, so, I mean, this is the Jets getting a lot of respect for what they did in the offseason. And I also think they did it very wisely for a young team. And we'll get to that in a second. But I want to run through this list real quick because I honestly think it might be in the wrong order. I might argue the Raiders being number 1. I do know they got Adams, who obviously Carr played with in college, and they got Chandler Jones, but then they got a new defensive coordinator coming in, and most of the other moves are kind of small, right? Like, you know, they got the 2 big moves, so I think that's why they're getting credit. You know, San Diego re-signing Mike Williams, drafting Zion Johnson, the offensive lineman that should help them up the middle. And then obviously making the big move for Jackson from the Patriots, taking that corner and trading for Khalil Mack, right, to go with Bosa. I mean, how is that not better than what the Raiders did, right? I'm like, man, if you could get the best corner in football, which Jackson is top 3, and you steal him from a conference rival, I mean, how the Patriots with a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal couldn't keep a 25-year-old elite number 1 corner leading the league in interceptions? Come on. Like, so anyways, I think they dogged the Chargers a little bit on that. But I also got to give credit where credit is due. Man, the Eagles, and I think that's JR, our producer. I think his son, doesn't one of your children root for the Eagles? I think they do.
One of your children.
Yeah, one of your children. Don't they root for the
and
Eagles?
unfortunately, my oldest son's an Eagles fan. Yes.
I knew it. Guilty as charged. But anyways, trading A.J. Brown, getting Hassan Reddick, the edge rusher from the Panthers, and in the draft, they walked out of with the NCAA champion Jordan Davis at defensive tackle and the Kobe Dean at linebacker. They got both of them off Georgia, and we all love them when we watch them in that bowl game. So I got to give them credit. Also, good offseason, probably, again, better than the Raiders. I think the Raiders are getting a little overrated. The other place, and this is what's going to be super interesting, right? And we'll probably be talking about this offseason all year because on paper, I'm going to hate to say this, but they might have won the paper offseason, okay? The Dolphins kept Ogba, their best defensive tackle, who I would have loved to stole, to be honest. Super good player.
Right.
Chase Edmonds, who we talked about as a really good sneaky free agent steal, like that number 1, number 2 in the middle running back. Cedric Wilson, the wide receiver from Dallas from the Patriots. And that's without saying that they also got Hill at wide receiver, a Pro Bowl offensive tackle in Teron Arstead, Connor Williams at guard, who is a penalty machine. So that's probably the worst one I said. But it all comes down to Tua. You built this whole piece, and all season we'll be saying you re-signed Gesicki, Cedric Wilson as your number 3, Waddle as your number 2, Hill as your number 1. You got a new left tackle, a new left guard. The Dolphins probably did the most in the offseason, right? They did the most to say, Tua, you're either the guy or not the guy. So I flip it to what our Jets did. Our Jets were very, very smart, right? They're a little financially flexible with these decisions that they made. You lock up a lot of young players, and Daniel said, we got to hit on some. We took 5 players in the top 40. If 3 of them end up being Pro Bowlers, it's a home run. It's a home run. Remember when we had 4 first-round picks and no second-round picks? So Parcells took, who did he take? Abraham, Ellis, Pennington. He took Becht at tight end, and then Lavernius Coles came back around round 3 and grabbed Lavernius Coles with his 5. And you could say Abraham and Ellis, Pro Bowl caliber players, right? Ellis, borderline Pro Bowl. Pennington was really good. Really good. Was he Brady Manning? No, but he was really, really good. Becht was the one that kind of didn't pan out, and then you swing back with Coles, who's, again, another borderline player. The Jets need 3. If you get 2 Pro Bowlers, 2 borderline Pro Bowlers competing for the Pro Bowl every year out of those 5 picks, you won. You won. And then Tomlinson is the answer you know. I mean, he's 30 years old. He's got enough on tape. He's running this. And he's a player you know. You don't even got to think about him, right? And then we'll get into this later, but with Becton, right, you got young players and Lawson coming back, right, to make this glue, like, better.
Right.
And that's with measuring Zach Wilson's improvement. Last year, we had a lot of rookies. How much better do they get this year? Throw in Whitehead on safety, Sauce Gardner at corner, DJ Reed at corner, and Quincy Williams coming back, who should be better this year than he was last year at linebacker, on a contract year, who has to ball out to get an extension. The Jets on paper have got better, younger, without spending a lot of money. Faster, more capable. And Reed and Tomlinson are the 2 players we signed for big contracts, right?
Yep.
Dolphins went all in on the money side. The Jets went all in with youth on players. Some are going to hit and some aren't. So I really like how NFL.com looked at very different approaches. Most of these others are through trades and big money signings. The Jets did it very smart, strategically, very Pittsburgh Steeler, Baltimore Ravens, New England
Right.
Patriot. That kind of like slow, steady. You can tell it's smart, but you're baking stuff in the oven constantly. And you're going to keep getting a developed player like almost in an order, right? Elijah Moore should be better this year. Michael Carter should be better this year. Zach Wilson should be better this year. Stick Azuma and Conklin beside him as kind of those cheap but smart value signings. And that's how the Jets built. Like almost like they're playing chess, putting pieces in place without having to get attacked, without getting Adams, without stealing a J.C. Jackson. And you know why teams have to do that? The same reason we used to have to. We drafted Darren Lee. He sucked. We had to go sign Mosley, right?
Right.
I would rather keep getting all these young players in a row, and some of them are going to bake. Some of them if Sauce Gardner and Elijah Moore end up being Pro Bowlers every single year, elite at their position, but Garrett Wilson is a solid number 2. Like you got your Torrey Holt, like Bruce situation, or Harrison and Wayne kind of thing. And Corey Davis is okay, a C-plus player in the middle. And Conklin and Azuma, only one of those guys got to be superstars. If one of those guys break out and are good, that's a work. That's a win. Same thing with Carter and Hall. If one of them breaks out as a 1,200-yard rusher, you're winning. So
agree.
Putting pieces in place, and some of those lottery tickets are going to cash out. It's going to be fun to watch to see how that goes. And we don't have any big contracts. We don't have a Trumaine Johnson contract over our heads. We can get out of Mosley and Corey Davis next year if we want to. Like the Jets don't have that like albatross contract that we're used to talking around our neck, right? That one, I wish I didn't sign him. So the Jets are in a good place.
Yeah, they're set up. Those are all good points. They're set up for success. They just have to hit with the picks, because then, like you said, if you don't hit with the picks, then you're spending money to complement and try to help your young quarterback. Where from here on out, every veteran or any high-priced or big-name veteran that gets signed should be an addition piece to what's already happening. Like, whatever hole you wind up finding at the end of this year, you bring in that veteran who probably is willing to take a little bit less money, because you could see that the Jets are on a path towards that success. But we can make a splash in the future. Okay, we're set up for that. So it's very imperative that they hit on their draft picks so that they have the leverage to kind of pick and choose what they want to do as far as the 3rd and 4th year of Zach Wilson moving forward. But no, I agree 100%. And I love the way that Joe Douglas trades in the draft, because it's 50-50 as it is. So if you're going to move up, it's 50-50 as it is. So if you're going to get those picks and say, hey, well, some of them are going to hit and some of them aren't, it's better to get some of those higher quality guys at the top, because they're already ranked out. Like, there's going to be guys in the 4th and the 5th round and the 6th round that are going to play. Some of them might even be stars. That happens. Yes, it does. But in this time, there's a reason why these guys are rated within those first 3 rounds the way they are, and I think the more of those guys you can get, especially without giving up any real young talent that you plan on signing, Darnold, Jamal Adams, that type of stuff. If you don't plan on bringing those guys back anyways, then it's good to get those picks, fill them up, make your draft trades, consolidate. Okay, we're past the point now where we need 12 draft picks to fill. We don't need that anymore. So I like the way that he approaches his drafts, where it's like, get all your chips on your side of the table first. Then sit back and look and say, okay, well, you know what? We could trade these 2 picks and move up here. We could do this here. We could sacrifice this, that, there. You could do that when you collect the way Joe has been collecting. And we've spoke about this many a times before. Joe Douglas has fleeced some people so far in the NFL, to the point where if he doesn't kind of either have a really bad trade or he doesn't like, they're not going to want to deal with Joe. They're going to be like, nah, we're not dealing with the Jets. Sorry. Good luck. I know somehow I'm going to deal someone to Joe and Joe's going to find a way to get some value out of it. And so, they've done a very good job, and they deserve to be on these lists. Some of the people that are still on this list, like the Dolphins, I feel like it's going to be fairly easy to stop the Dolphins if Tua is not the person that he's supposed to be, because all you have to do is be physical at the line. They don't have imposing receivers. Gesicki's not imposing. Waddle's not imposing at all. Tyreek Hill's not imposing. They're going to be a timing and rhythm offense and running the football. They're going to run the football. They're going to set up play action. They're going to hit the edges and outs. They're going to get rhythm stuff and let the actual talent do the work. They want to get the ball out of his hands quickly so he doesn't take hits, and then just allow guys like athletic guys like Waddle and Hill do all the work for him. I think if you're physical with the Dolphins up front, stop that run, first of all, put more load on Tua. And second of all, be physical with those kind of shifty guys and disrupt that rhythm and timing. And I think that you could beat the Dolphins like that, because they have a type of roster that I don't think is it's not very flexible. I think it's going to be a kind of one-way style offense. I think the Jets are more flexible as an offense. If you look at the talent that's on the roster, you've got 2 tight ends, right, that could go out there and get you 500-600 yards, no problem, right? Then you also have a dynamic running back in Michael Carter, who's completely different than Breece Hall. And then you have guys like Elijah Moore, who's completely different than Davis. You have all these different receivers on the roster. Berrios, who's different. You went out and you get your draft picks. They're different. I love everything that they've done in this offseason. That's not going to make me pick them for 12 wins because they get Wilson. That's not like, I get it. But you look at the Jets offense and you look at everyone stacked up and lined up. And then you're even hearing that like Denzel Mims is even making some kind of progress out here. So I mean, the Jets are going to have more than enough depth. And I love, like Kevin said, chess pieces. They got pieces on this team that complement other people. Like the Laken Tomlinson move is so underrated. Like we've barely talked about it because it was so early, right, in the free agency period when Tomlinson came in. But that is such a big addition to this offensive line, man. That was already a top 12 line to begin with. And so then that was without Becton. So if Becton can come back and stay healthy, you have another physical, imposing guy. It's like getting another free agent practically. And then you got a guy like Fant who could either move to the right side, or you would just have more depth too, because then he could swing if he needs to. If there's another injury, boom, Fant right to the left side. Like the Jets have done a really good job. And now it's just up to the coaching to get the best out of these young guys. I do like the Chargers. I think they've done an excellent job. I think they're ready to take that next step. If they do or not, we're going to have to see. The Dolphins were in the position to take the next step, and they kind of floundered last year. Started off really bad and then finished really strong. The Eagles, I don't believe in the Eagles just in general. I don't know their quarterback situation. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is really the guy. He's got to show me a little bit more. There's at times he looks very, very good, and then there's other times where he looks very mediocre. And I think it benefits him that he plays in the NFC East, because I think if he played in some other divisions that were a little bit more stable, he may be out of a job, or he may be competing for a job right now. But the NFC East is so unstable at the quarterback position. And then, the Cowboys just do cowboy things and they just fall on their face a lot of times too. So, there's always an opportunity. But yeah, man, I like the Raiders. I like the Raiders. Here's the thing with the Raiders, okay? We know that Carr is not an elite quarterback, but he's better than average. So he's right in that range where it's like, if you put him in a good situation with good talent, maybe he could get you somewhere. The defense is going to have to show up, obviously, but you look at the roster with Jacobs and Waller and Devontae now, and then you already had Renfro go off. I mean, dude, that's a pretty good offense, just to to throw that out there. And I don't think their offensive line was too shabby, Kevin. I'm not too sure, but I don't think they were too shabby. So listen, I like it. Listen, the AFC is hard. I'm sorry, guys. It's going to be daunting. And the Jets have the second toughest schedule as we speak right now on paper. Obviously, injuries can change a lot of things, but the most improved may not lead to the most wins or the most improved wins, win total. It's going to be hard. And the Jets are going to have to start off well, because if you do have any type of playoff aspirations as a football team, 9 times out of 10, you got to start off well, because you're going to go through a little bit of a rut, and you don't want it to be in late November and December in bad weather games where you're trying to play makeup just to try to get into the playoffs. So you want to put that pressure on other teams that come into your house. And so, listen, again, I'm still 7 to 9 wins for the Jets until I see more from them. I think anything less than 6 wins is a total disaster for this team, in my personal opinion, unless there's some kind of catastrophic injury, God forbid, something happens to one of these guys, but that are important. But other than that, less than 6 wins for this team, and there's going to be some hot seats going into that third year for Zach Wilson. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to add of all those teams that you kind of went through, where the Jets want to find themselves at the end of the season is where San Diego was going into the season. And that's where you have loaded up with young players that you've drafted. They drafted Herbert, they drafted Eckler, they drafted Allen, Mike Williams, they drafted Slater at left tackle. So all those are picks that they have locked in, young players. On defense, they had also landed Bosa, Derwin James, and Asante Samuel Jr. at corner. So you already loaded up with young players, young talent. So you get to supplement and spend big with all those guys on young deals and grab a J.C. Jackson and a Khalil Mack to hopefully complement all that young talent that I already said, right? So the Jets need to look at these drafts, look at these players, and say, hey, I just need 2 or 3 more tweaks, right? 2 or 3 more big names that round it out. And if they happen to be the age of J.C. Jackson, you hit a home run. Look at the Bills had to spend all that money on Von Miller. You do not want to be drafted like an old man. So, but anyways, this is where the Jets want to find themselves next offseason.
Yeah, exactly. And they basically want to be how the Chargers were going into the season last year. That's who they want to be. A team that, you're like, oh, will they win 7-8 games? And then all of a sudden they're pushing for a playoff spot at the end of the season. If the Jets are still in the playoff hunt or the conversation going into the last week or two, and they don't happen to get in, like they miss out by maybe 1 game or something, I think that's a total win for them. 100%. And then everyone's going to be super stoked going into the next year. And not just that, the team is going to have a feeling like, okay, we feel the growth, because I watched an interview with Zach Wilson. They sat down with him. I was watching it on YouTube, and he was saying like how the team feels like this is theirs. There's ownership there. You know what I mean? There's because everyone is so young and new to the situation, they feel like they're starting this together. So if you could take that next step, and everybody knows what that is. Listen, these people can come out and say, well, if they say they're not going to win the Super Bowl, then what kind of competitor are guys? Listen, there's a reality. We're human beings. Okay. There's football players have emotions. They know reality in real life. Trust me, the worst team in the league knows they're kind of maybe one of the worst teams in the league. You know what I'm saying? Now that doesn't mean they're not going to run their route with that same intensity. Like, I'm going to try to go out here and ball, but ultimately, what you have up against other people. So when you could feel the growth of your team moving forward, it just changes things. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's one of those things where it's just I got to see it. I'm tired of just speculating what the win total is going to be. We do it because it's part of the show. Go out and show me. It's been 11 years since you've made the playoffs. The last time we were in the playoffs, I was a completely different human being, lived in a completely different state, worked a completely different career. I mean, was it even real to begin with? Was Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez and all that, was that just a simulation of some sort, or is it actually real? That's how long it's been that I can't even recognize real winning football for the Jets, where we felt like, man, we're really going to punch this team in the mouth today, and or they're going to, we're going to give them a hard time. They're going to have a hard time today with us. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a long time since we've been able to do that. You know what I mean? So what are you laughing about over there?
Oh, just comments. A lot of exciting things going on, guys.
There are no good comments, man. I don't see
There are
nothing.
good comments.
I don't see anything. This sucks, man.
People are funny for sure. Hey, so I do want to jump. This is a very interesting topic to me, this one. I was super excited to see this on tonight's show. Guys, and I know what everybody is thinking in their heads, right? That Zach Wilson has the most to prove. And I knew this is where, when I saw this question, everyone was going to go. And to me, while I think Zach needs to show improvement, to me, the guy with the most to prove this year is Mekhi Becton. Like, the fans are so on him for being out of shape, for being injury prone, to losing his left tackle position. Potentially, it's like maybe 90-10, but probably 90% it's going to be fans. Like, to me, there's a lot of people who have something to prove, right? A lot of names popped into my head when I saw this question. Man, Michael Carter only played 10 games, like 11 games, played in 11 games last year. Elijah Moore only played in 10. So these are guys that got to, like, show, and they got to prove they can stay healthy and handle, like, how physical the NFL is. Quincy Williams is on contract here. Zach Wilson, there's lots of names, lots of directions you could go. But to me, if Mekhi Becton doesn't have a good year, the Jets are going to at least invest in a very close to starter solution in free agency next year, if not draft somebody who could potentially replace him long term. So to me, Becton, I won't say it's 100% make or break. Say he has 12 or 13 really good games. He probably has to compete the next year. But it's pretty close. So when I saw, I was like, dang, I know if I just read the comments when this question first came up, that everyone would be like, Wilson, 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 Wilson. Dude, if Wilson is 24-12, it may not be like Mahomes numbers, but I need him better than what I saw this year. I need like some level of consistency, better play, more TDs. I want him to get 30 TDs if he comes up 25, 26, plays all season. 26-12, something like that. I would say that's a hell of a jump from year 1 to year 2. If he makes that jump year 3 that he did from 1 to 2, we got something like cooking. So to me, I need to see improvement, but not the most to prove.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, year 3 is where Wilson's going to need to show probably his biggest improvement, because if you think about it, you have to start worrying about, do I have to pay this guy long term? You start running into that situation again too. So it's pivotal that he has a really good year, a step up year for sure. But his biggest year, is be his third year and determine what kind of guy is this. I think by that time the Jets are going to have a solid team, or they should have a solid team to compete against most people in the AFC each week. And so we're gonna find out as he starts playing, the Burrows and the Herberts of the world and all these other young quarterbacks. Is he the guy, or is he just going to be right outside? Because what you guys don't understand is it's hard to find franchise quarterbacks, and you have a decade. So there's a decade, right? And there's a pecking order in franchise quarterbacks. Now it's been extended because of the way the NFL plays out. You're not allowed to hit the quarterback, sports medicine, this, that, and the third. But you can legit have a quarterback for 12 to 15 plus years. And so there's a window in there and a pecking order, right? So where is Wilson fit in that order? Because usually if you're not in the top 10 discussion, really as a quarterback, it's tough for you year in and year out to have your team in one of those big time games. And now you can have an exceptional year where all of a sudden the team lifts up the quarterback, but that's just temporary, because as soon as you win the Super Bowl or get to those heights, these guys are going to get paid, and then they're gone, and you have no one to stand up to while you start picking up the pieces. You put together a team, and then all of a sudden you win a Super Bowl or you get to the Super Bowl and you lose. Now, this guy wants a payday. That guy wants a payday, the tight end, defensive end. And all of a sudden you're losing these players and you could feel the team take a hit. But you got Peyton Manning. But you got Brett Favre. But you got a guy that where even though it may not be as like you look at Kansas City, did it look last year like the previous 2 years or the years when they won the Super Bowl? Did it look as easy? No, it didn't. There was a lot of times the last 2 years with Kansas City where you're like, what the hell is going on with them? And he was still putting up amazing stats, but it wasn't as easy. So we thought something was wrong. But nothing was wrong. It's just that when you're putting together a team and a business at the same time, it costs a lot of money. Guys aren't staying for hometown discounts anymore. Guys aren't spending whole careers anymore. So there's a pecking order of not teams, but quarterbacks now. And if you don't got one of those guys, then you could forget about it. You could just forget about it. Pull up the playoffs of the last 10 years and look at most of the quarterbacks in every game from wild card on, because a wild card, you can maybe sneak in, maybe there's an injury, you get into the playoffs, and then you get your butt whooped in the opening round. So look past. So divisional round on, look to see who the quarterbacks were. And there's not a lot of them that are on the outside. Once you get to the conference championship, how many of those quarterbacks are guys that aren't top 10 quarterbacks over the last 10 years, I would say? There's not a ton of them. You got to have a good quarterback to, one, seize the regular season advantages, like what? Home field advantage, a bye. You look at some of those Patriot teams and how they got to the Super Bowl over that long stretch. A lot of those in there were because they were winning the division. They were getting buys. They were getting to play on their home field in that, almost cursed, on that crappy weather in that crappy area. It benefits to have a quarterback that's one of those guys because you stack wins. So you get benefits to that when you get to the playoffs and you play inferior teams, inferior quarterbacks, it adds up a little bit. You get a team like Miami that has to come up to New York in December or January and play a playoff game. It's not the same as them playing in Miami in a playoff game. I'll tell you that much in December. Different play style is going to be played out and a different outcome, I can guarantee you. But when you have an elite quarterback, that's what it affords you. Get you those extra wins, get you those buys, get you those playoff games, gives you that opportunity to use the players around you. So, but it's hard to contain that and keep that for so long, but you can keep the quarterback. So you got to have one. And so when we talk about who has the biggest year, we could easily say it has to be the quarterback. Every single year we could say. And I could pick another player, obviously, just for giggles here, but it is Mekhi Becton when you really think about it. I mean, this is a mountain of a man that had a really good rookie year that everyone was really excited to see what he was going to do moving forward. What is this guy going to be? And every negative that was on his draft profile has now been out. It's like, you see someone, it's like, yeah, and he did this in college and high school, whatever, and he's lazy and he doesn't eat right, this, da. And then he gets to the pros. It's like, no, come on, man. Why'd you guys dog him like that? He still do. Pretty much everything that has been said has either been reported or has been outed. The lack of accountability for the weight management and the little things that you have to do with the position. They haven't spoken very glowingly of him. And this is a staff that is about motivation and talking about these types of things. So I noticed about this coaching staff and this regime is that if they don't really come out and say something audibly, you're probably worrying about what's going on because these guys are rah guys. And they do say, and Zach and this guy, and they start calling out names and they start talking about what these guys can do. And, when people ask them questions about Becton, you could see that they're just navigating. They're navigating. They're not trying to blow his spot up because they're good people and they're player coaches. But this guy has to come out and show You gotta come out and show. We've seen the guy from Tampa. What is it, Wirfs? We've seen what that guy has put together in his resume with his quarterback. Now it's your turn. Okay, you got your quarterback, Zach Wilson. Protect him, man. That guy, man, you protect Zach Wilson. You could get him some Super Bowls or get him some division titles. That's going to look good on you in your career and your payday, man. Come on, wake up. You're 22, 23 years old, whatever it is, man. And listen, you got George Fant. The man's 30 years old, something like that. Chip on his shoulder. Listen, let me tell you something about George Fant for some of you guys that don't know. This is someone that was highly rated, was a starter in Seattle. He got hurt, okay? And then when he came back, he was replaced, and it took him a little while to get started. And by then, they had moved him to the right side. They had tried him at tight end. That hurts a little something. That puts a little chip on your shoulder because you know you're a left tackle, and you know that you have the skills, but your body's just taking a little longer to respond to it. The Jets and Joe Douglas, like we know he does because he finds people like this, realize this guy has skill, talent, and leadership, and sign him to come to the Jets. Even we spoke about it on the show. I was like, dude, Fant is not going to be happy if the Jets draft Becton because he wanted the opportunity to start at left tackle because he felt like he didn't get a fair shake or it just didn't play out the way he wanted to at the end of Seattle. So the Jets are a young team. They're rebuilding. He probably thought this is my opportunity for a couple years to show my worth and get a final contract. And then all of a sudden they draft Mekhi Becton. You never heard or peep from Fant. He just worked hard. He stayed in shape and he got his opportunity and he balled out. And the coaching staff respects that. He's a grown man with grown bills and grown problems, and he's taking care of his business. And if Mekhi Becton's not smart, he's going to lose his starting position too. And so he is the number one person that needs to shape it up or he is gone because these guys here don't know him. All they know is the guy that's been hurt, had weight problems, all this other stuff. That's what they know. They don't know the other guy that we saw on tape. That's just someone they saw on tape. They see a lot of guys on tape. What could you do for me in my system right now for my guys, for my quarterback on his blind side? What can you do for him? If you're not available, we're going to find somebody. So he's got to step up. And I'm about that whole T-shirt business and giving little things to them. But don't act like the fans and the media are off base here with the reports that have been coming out because it's been a little bit too much. You know what I'm saying? And this isn't a Zion Williamson situation where we know Zion Williamson has been heavy at times through the start of his career, but there's been plenty of doctored pictures and twisted pictures because there's been plenty of times where I've seen him and he's looked in great shape. We're not talking about that. This is a completely different situation with a guy who's not in the media's eye like Zion is. It's different. This guy needs to come into camp in shape and he needs to be ready to go or he's going to lose his job to Fant or he's going to get moved to the right side because if Fant is healthy, he's ready to go and he's ready to put down some tape right now because he wants that contract, okay? And I love it. So I love the competition for the New York Jets. I love everything that they're putting together for this football team. It's the coach's job now to get it out of them and the players to respond. Any last words, Kevin, before we get going?
No, I mean, Jets camp news is going to start coming out soon. You saw the rookies report in a couple weeks. So I think our next show will literally be right before rookie camp, if I can speak. So we should be talking about that very soon. So by next show, we'll be heading right into training camp. And I think it's 1 week after rookie camp, the vets come in the last week of July. So very soon, people, we're not that far away. So all your excitement, all your optimism, all your hope, all these players developing, we're going to be seeing it in just a couple weeks. So get excited.
Yep, absolutely. And as far as how many Pro Bowlers the Jets have, I would say I think Braxton has another shot. I really do. He's going to be motivated. You know, he works hard. You know, he's going to come in shape. I think he's going to get some more opportunities at receiver earlier in the year that he didn't get until later in the year. And I think if he could combine that with his return game, it'll give him a little bit more of an edge. So if he could have a good return game again this year, I think he's got a shot.
I gotta say, Quinnen, guys, this is gonna be the year, man. I'm gonna
Yeah.
predict Quinnen gets like 9 sacks, which is a lot for a defensive tackle. I think it gets him in the Pro Bowl. Once you're like borderline playoff, like we talked about, and you're a 9-sack guy, you become that Fletcher Cox like kind of player. If he can stay healthy, one other player I would throw in, if Fant stays healthy and plays like he did last year against this schedule, I definitely think he has a shot.
Tomlinson possibly. He's got a shot, I think, as well.
Wait till we see Sauce and Reed. They're my sleepers. Sauce and Reed are going to be really good. But
I think the Jets are gonna be
3 Pro Bowlers
better than you think. I think they're gonna be better than you think in that secondary. I think they're going to show you kind of right away. But again, this is going to be predicated off of what Saleh can do with that defensive line. That is his bread and butter. And honestly, he can't be let off the hook. And his defense cannot be let off the hook from what happened last year for stopping the run. We talked about that. If they cannot stop the run, none of this matters. Then you might as well throw this all out the window. Everything starts up front, offensive line, defensive line. So, I mean, Quinnen, if he's going to show where another guy that's got to show where he's picked, he's taken a lot of double teams. I challenge the people around Quinnen, too, to make him a Pro Bowler. Do your damn job so that this man doesn't have to get double teamed. He was at least top 5 in double teams at one point that I saw during the course of that season. And so we got to see more from the people around him. And please protect Carl Lawson. Because I think if Lawson can come out the gate and be strong, and this just Jonathan Franklin Myers, all these guys, man, they got to show up and have a healthy rotation because you know that they like to rotate. So if they can have a healthy rotation and keep things fresh, Quinnen could have a really big year. So, yeah, I mean, so Quinnen, it's tough, guys. It's still a young team. It's still really competitive. I don't know what Elijah Moore quite possibly is yet. I know he's dynamic, but I think there's going to be too much of a spread for the Jets offensively that anyone is actually going to be able to pop out and shine. I mean, trust me, I'm all for it. But I just think there's too many weapons, and I think it was designed this way for a reason. I don't think it would be good for a guy like Zach Wilson to have like the Baker Mayfield effect where you have Odell and you feel like as a young quarterback, you got to feed Odell. I like how they built this team in the fact that he's got weapons all around him. Just get rid of the ball, kid. Get rid of the ball. I don't like for instance, if Zach Wilson can't succeed in this offense, if everyone is healthy, then he's just not going to succeed anywhere because like he's got a pretty good safety net, different types of running backs, tight ends, receivers, offensive line. Like he should be all right. This is all going to come down to his learning ability, is be able to absorb that playbook and execute, stay healthy, and get rid of the ball. If he starts turning into the beginning of the year like he was kind of searching for the big play type of deal, we could be in some problems. But I think that's out the door already. He's one of those kids that it just seems like he grows. He's not like some stuck-up kid or whatever like that. This is a football kid. This is a guy who grew up playing quarterback. Like, this guy knows what studying means and tape means. He's a tapeaholic. This guy is all over the place as far as film is concerned. You don't have to worry about that with Zach Wilson. He's a student of the game. That's a fact. Everyone has always said that about his learning ability and his ability, that his intensity. Sometimes they have to slow him down a little bit because he just keeps going. So that is not in question for me. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, guys, that are going to get answered here in the next couple of weeks. There's a camp battles all over the place that are going to be happening. Very competitive. It's a young football team, and everyone's going to be fighting for position and rep counts and all that kind of stuff. And so this is going to be fun. I just hope they stay healthy. They're young. They're going to be going at it. And I just want them to stay healthy and no injuries. That's what we need to be focusing on. Like, I don't even care about wins right now. I just don't want to see these guys get carted off just as a human being and also for the Jets season. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate all the respect. Again, we're not going to be doing a weekly show until camp gets started. Then we're going to start rolling out a little bit more. But just hanging in there. We're still writing articles. We're still talking and sharing. We're just had a little bit of a meeting, a little powwow right before the season started. Right before the show started about how we're going to do things this season. A lot of us, I'll be at every game. Kevin's going to be at a few games. JR is going to be at a few games. We're going to be doing some live show, trivia, giveaways at the stadium itself. And we're all going to be filming it and broadcasting it for you guys and sharing these videos and growing this Jets Guru page and brand as we go, right? It's just the three of us. So we're going to be building it. Oh, yeah, and I forgot Mr. Ramon there on Twitter. Just he doesn't show his face enough. So it's interesting. But he is out there doing this thing on Twitter behind closed doors. But he's going to have to come out and pop out and make an appearance sometime this year. But appreciate the support, guys. Please share. Please jump on other Jet pages. Please go on Live Rounds. Please go on Jets World. CJ DeSimone has a great show that he puts together every week. Tires has a show that he puts together every week. Just really, really good Jet shows and programs and pages all over. Please absorb them. Absorb as much Jets information as possible. Because y'all be coming with some crazy takes sometimes and blaming it on me. And I'm not going to have it no more. I'll block you real quick. I'm not even playing. So it's just like block. So, we're out here trying to have fun, talk real healthy, good conversations for this year. Because I don't care. People are like, oh, well, you have an open. I don't care. I'll block you. I got a new heart, right? So we're going to make sure we take care of that thing, right? So love you guys. Have a good night, JETS, Jets. Peace out. Be safe. New York City, baby.
That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
All gas, no brake.